Peace, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast, available everywhere you listen to your podcasts. Yo, I'm excited for this one, man. This was kind of special, yo. It's kind of crazy when I consider the journey of the podcast and where we are today. This is episode number 100. It's crazy, man. And yeah, just really excited to have, gotten to this place with the podcast. And thank you to everybody who's supported, who's rocked with me since the beginning. And God willing, we'll do another 100. On this episode, I had an opportunity to chop it up with the homie Dex. He introduced me to another homie, Joe, and they've come together to create a crew. And they've done some pretty cool things already, man, with some other things loaded in the chamber. So excited to share this conversation with you, where they talk about music, they talk about their faith. Go check out this episode of the Klyph Notes podcast, number 100, featuring Meek Heroes. Support for the Klyph Notes podcast comes from Akepele Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Akepele, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out akepele.com. That's AKEPELE.com. Yes, yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. Available everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course at klyphnotes.com. Big ups to everybody who's been tuning in literally all over the planet. It still trips me out that people are listening in like Saudi Arabia and Asia and South America. But big ups to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all support for real. And of course, man, big ups to XRAY FM and Akepele Apparel for their continued support of the Klyph Notes podcast. We're gonna get it in though, man. I ain't gonna drag this intro out too long, man. This is one that we've been working on, and really excited to have an opportunity to have these brothers live on the Klyph Notes podcast, because we got some stuff to talk about, man. But yeah, man, let me have y'all go ahead and introduce yourselves.
What up, Klyph? Hell, you in the building. Meek Heroes.
Yes, sir. How y'all doing, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. See, as you can tell, Dex is the hype man, right? He's just got that. Wah, 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 wah! He's all amped up. So yeah. Blessed.
No doubt, man. No doubt, man. For sure. So me and Dex, we go back, man. Dex has had an opportunity, or has been gracious enough with his time to come on the Welcome to the Neighborhood radio show. But Joe, this is our first time connecting, yo.
Yeah, man. I've heard great things, and just like I said, blessed to be here, excited for this time and to chop it up, man. So it's awesome.
No doubt. So I want to give the listeners a little bit of backstory. So like I said, me and Dex been building for a while. I've had an opportunity to share his art with my audience, both on the radio show, or just with all of my platforms, really. And then he hit me up and he was like, "Yo, man, I got this new project I'm working on. I want you to check it out, man. But you got to keep it 100 with me, because it's a little bit different from what you used to." And I said, "Bro, you know me. I'm gonna keep it like all the way real with you, man." And he sent it to me, and I really dig it. So I want to ask y'all, like, how did the connect happen? First off, Dex, with you and Joe.
So at the time I was really trying to find a group or some brothers I can fellowship with. And man, I was searching, man, and I ended up finding Joe and a few other guys that was working as this crew with Tent Maker. And we was working with each other for a little bit, and then we end up stepping back because I need to really focus back on, the reason why I got into it in the first place was to serve, the Lord, as you know, with the last interview I ended up doing with you, I really focused on, becoming a Christian hip hop artist. And, I was just diving in. I was getting back to my old ways. I'm like, man, I'm really focusing on trying to make things happen and not what God want me to do, and I had to slow things down. And throughout that process, Joe was actually there, and we ended up fellowshipping and got to kick it about a lot of things, and just we wasn't really even thinking about music. We was just focusing on trying to, better ourselves in our walk and hold each other accountable in different things. And then we came to the conclusion, like, man, we are really, really, really some dope artists, and we should probably talk about this moment and figure out how we can bring this together where people can, really focus on that fellowship aspect of music and put that first and use this as a platform and not try to use the gospel as a tool for their platform. And that's how we end up coming up with Meek Heroes, how to stay humble and meek throughout the process and allowing God to use you throughout that.
That's what's up. Yeah. That's what's up, man. And then Joe, so when getting to know Dex and obviously building with him, how much of his history as a performer, as an artist, were you aware of?
Well, actually, out the gate, not a lot. I had to do some research and track him down and start looking at all of his projects. And cause like you said, he contacted us when I was one of the founding members of Tent Maker Music. And so, he had tracked me down through that. And so, like I said, I had to go back and do some research. I didn't know a lot of what he brought, but over the last, well, yeah, right, yeah, and then but over the last couple of years of getting to know Dexter, it amazes me his depth and knowledge of the industry, and that allows us to really focus on, like you said, that fellowship aspect, because we already know the things we need to take care of. Like with my experience, like that kind of stuff sort of hits itself on autopilot and allows us to really focus on Jesus, our relationship as brothers in Christ, and how we can reach other people, equip, and share the gospel. And so I have loved that. And like I said, like when Dexter speaks to me from an industry perspective, like I'm tuned in. He's got a lot of experience there, and obviously musically, I vibe out on what he's done, even though he and I have drastically different styles, which is what I think really makes the Meek Heroes thing pop. So
no doubt, man, no doubt. If people aren't up on Tent Maker Music, man, can you give us a little bit of a synopsis of what that is?
Yeah, sure. So Tent Maker Music, when a couple friends of ours, we launched it. It's more of a platform, kind of. I mean, I guess if you're running a comparison, it would be like Rapzilla and Trackstars, but really just for Christian music of all genres. We weren't focused on just CHH. We were rock and all that. And so that's really the bend. We wanted to be a place where people could come and hear excellent music, and then also integrate messages and articles and different things. And so for me, I handed the company over to the other two guys, and have been focusing on Average Joe Ministries, which is where Dexter and I have really poured our time into. Which again, similar in the messages and the articles, and really trying to equip believers and reach the lost. And the music is a tool in that. On that platform, but we still partner with Tent Maker, great brothers in Christ over there, and so they're still doing their thing, and we're doing ours, and it just made a lot of sense to kind of hit that split. But love those dudes and what they're doing. I'm actually Dexter and I'll have an opportunity here at the end of July to be at the Engedi Music Festival, and we'll be ripping a set on the Tent Maker Music stage. So that's pretty awesome. So we're really excited there. So
that's what's up, man. That's what's up. So Dex, I know we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but then even more so since Meek Heroes has come to since you guys created it, you've had this fan base throughout your entire career. What's been the feedback that you've gotten thus far as people hear what you're doing now with Meek Heroes?
It's dope. Well, okay, I would say this. It was a humbling experience too, because you knew us when we was doing the whole regiment stuff, and then bringing that underground hip hop to CHH. Nobody really knew. A lot of dudes didn't know who I was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was just. But even when I was reaching out to them, I wasn't trying to use that as like an accolade to work with people. It was more just like, man, I'm trying to find some brothers I can just fellowship with. But it was also, like I said, a humbling experience because it was like I was starting all over, and I wasn't really even sending people my old stuff. It was more just trying to start fresh and just start building those relationships over again and just seeing what God can do without me getting in the way, And because before then, it was a lot of me and not enough of him, doing what he put me here for, And
Yeah.
I had to really come to the conclusion like, yo, I need to slow down and just let him work in a lot of situations, And that was hard for me, definitely where I came from, always having my hands in everything and helping with all these different things going on in the background. So it was, it was a very humbling experience.
No doubt, no doubt, man. So you touched on it a little bit, man, but I wanna talk a little bit more about Meek Heroes, in terms of the name, the concept, and then the things that we see are being built around that in terms of artwork,
Mhm.
visuals. I know that there's some other things that you guys have working on where you're literally putting things in people's hands. So with the idea of Meek Heroes and that art behind it, where did that come from?
So Joe does a really good job explaining that concept. I do a good job explaining how we got
Yeah.
together. Yeah, every time he breaks it down, I'm like, man, that was really dope. Like, say that again. you
Yeah.
know,
Well, I mean, again, like, so what's really fun about Dexter and I and how we work in this project is like Dexter is a real good visionary. I'm like a legs guy. Like I can put things to action. Like that's my role. And like over the years, I started dabbling back with graphic design and looking at different things and realizing what was needed from an art perspective. And so Dex will pitch an idea, and then I'll sit there and I'll go back and forth with them for like 45 minutes, and then finally figure out I think what we're looking at
Yeah.
and really come up with this design. And so, like with Meek Heroes, we really thought it would be awesome to have the comic book cartoon character, like superhero looking guys, but without the superpowers, right? And so we actually tapped into a buddy of mine. Who does some artwork? He lives out in Japan, and just a really cool cat, believer. And I messaged him, and we went through a bunch of different processes to come up with like we'll say our avatars, like our characters, and then from there everything just kind of builds, right? Like you take that process, you know what your vision is. Now we've been focusing
yeah,
on little tidbit here is
yeah,
like on our EP, we're really looking at this idea of like a city, right? And going into a city and being ministers and what that looks like. So our art theme is really taking that how to almost create like a Gotham, in some sense. So you'll see in some of the artwork where it has sort of that like ominous feel. You're in a city, you're walking through, and I'm only going to give you that much because
Okay.
I don't want to give you, I don't want to give you
Okay.
everything.
I was like, yo, we
But
getting a serious
yeah,
exclusive
yeah,
up in here,
yeah,
yo.
yeah. It's good. It's good. But we want to have that connectivity. We want to have that theme. We want it to be more than just here's a picture and a name on it. Really take the art piece seriously and use that to communicate, our
yeah,
vision just the same.
yeah.
And
And most
so,
importantly, we really wanted to promote the concept of anyone could be a meek hero. You don't have to have
yes.
powers. You don't have to be anything. Someone that goes to work every single day, in at a hospital, helping people every single day. Someone that provides for their family, that's a provider. That's a meek hero.
Yeah.
And we wanted to really uh, promote that. It's like it's nothing wrong with you, just being a provider for your family. There's nothing wrong with you going to work, taking care of your family and doing what you're supposed to do, or being obedient to the Lord. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody feel like they have to have all these special talents or be gifted with certain things where, your spiritual gift could be just to put a smile on somebody's face, and that's very important. And definitely in these times that we in.
No doubt.
And that's really Dexter and I. I mean, we're both, married. I got, three kids that run around. I mean, we do this in our day to day. I mean, it's really like, hey, there's nothing special about us outside of Jesus. And so,
Mm-hmm. No
we're
doubt.
rolling with that. And so no, it's been great, man.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, um, like I said, Dex sent me a joint, and I've been able to share with my audience up here. The first joint that you
Mm,
guys released is called "The Signal." Um,
mm.
it, releasing that as sort of the introduction of Meek Heroes as a group to the masses, because I know you guys are working on music, as you mentioned, an EP. Um,
Mhm.
Mhm.
releasing that as the first single, what was the thought behind that?
Well, Joe came up with the with the actual hook. The hook was crazy. When he came up with the hook, it's basically you thinking like the Batman signal, but it's more of like calling all believers. Like this, through everything that we're going through right now, it's time for us to stand up. It's really time to put our faith where it should be, and let's stop playing games, man, and
Mhm.
hold each other accountable. And as soon as he hit me with the hook, I was like, man, that's really dope, and it just everything just formed together really easily. I was really surprised too because like I told you before, that was my first time really rocking on something like that, and I
Yeah.
was really nervous on like man, everybody used to hear me on some boom bap or
Right.
a heavy sample,
Right.
but it came out really dope, and I was like, man, this is it really pushed me creatively, and when I started seeing the fam and even with the youth too. The youth gravitate towards it really well. Like, man, that's really dope. Um, and it really, it's a blessing.
No doubt.
Um,
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
I One of the reasons that I mean anybody who listens to who's listened to me through the years and the people that I build with and the people I get behind and support, they know that I have an ear for a certain lane of rap music. And I'm an old head, and so that boom bap sound. That's what I gravitate to, and it's one of the reasons
yeah,
that I love the regiment. But also understanding that for me, I get the turn up, but I also feel like whenever you have a platform, you also have a responsibility comes along with that. Which again, that's why I kind of rock with a specific lane. So you guys now have this platform as Meek Heroes, and you've already spoken about really what's important, which is making sure that not I shouldn't say making sure, but using that platform to be in service, to share love, to focus people on Christ, to focus people on the Creator, and doing that in a way that can be digested and received. So that's one of the great things about music in the times that we're living in. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are looking for answers. And sometimes going through that process can create a lot of pain. And one of the things that I've always loved about rap music in particular is that it has always been a great vehicle for people to express themselves and then and use that platform as an expression of others whose voice is not being heard. So I say all that to ask, how does that impact now what you do with Meek Heroes? When we look at everything that's happening around the world, not just the social unrest, but all of the people who've been hurt by the COVID-19 pandemic, and then even prior to that, people just going through day to day life struggles. So how does that impact your creative process with Meek Heroes?
Yeah. Well, I first want to say I love what you just said because I just had a conversation with someone the other day about hip hop, and I'm like, man, when you look at rap and you look at hip hop, like there's a purpose behind it. That this is there's a mode and a vehicle, and you're able to utilize your voice to actually speak up for things and speak out on things, and that's what I love about the medium of rap in general and just the history of it. I mean, I'm not a young buck either. I'm an old head man as well, and so, I just happen personally stylistically to vibe out on more futuristic type stuff, and so that's just my thing. But to answer your question, I think Dexter and I see very much a personal responsibility to to speak on things. You know what I mean? Like to take music and actually use that as a tool to reach people and speak into the hurting. I mean, the track we're getting set to drop this coming Friday, the 26th, is called Vapor, and the whole premise of the song is like, man, like our life is short. And so like the way we live matters, and what we say, what we do, it matters. That these things are important because you're here today and you're gone tomorrow, and really kind of speaking into that reality. And at the same time, for Dex and I, we really see an opportunity, to come alongside and demonstrate diversity and unity within that diversity, and to be able to be a voice, and to talk through some things with people. And I've had some great opportunities as of late, and it's just been fantastic to be able to take whatever influence we have to really speak to that pain that people are experiencing, loss of all sorts, the social unrest and the injustices we see in our world right now, and just to for us even to stand against racism together and to walk together and to move forward in this. We've really taken that as a personal responsibility that God has given us this platform to reach people. Dex, I don't know if you want to add more to that. I can
I
talk
mean,
a
you
little bit.
you gotta really hit it on the nail. But it also opened up opportunities to get like certain things off our chest too. Like we was talking about different things dealing with race and like a lot of you see so much on social media, and you try to figure out, like, you try not to absorb all that or get so caught up into it, and even with like our walk and everything that we're doing right now to try to have people focused on the gospel and the message behind it. If you read the word, it talks about all these different things that's going on. So, the key thing I be trying to really put my people on is like, hey, let's focus on the sin behind everything and not the skin,
Mm.
because, we all fall short. And, that doesn't mean we undermine anything that's going on or take away from who we are in our culture, but it's more of just we are brothers and sisters, and like Joe was saying, that's my brother right there. And
Mm.
me and him went through a whole lot this far. We plan to go through more. And
Mm.
that song itself really, just the Meek Heroes is just really showing that how to be humble and respect and support one another.
That's what's
Amen.
up. That's what's up, man. Chopping
Yeah.
up with Meek Heroes. Um,
Mm.
so to kind of give folk a little bit of behind the scenes, man. So we're actually recording this episode of Klyph Notes on June 19th of 2020. So it's Juneteenth, and it's been spoken of in circles that this year, 2020 Juneteenth, has a potentially a greater impact on folk than maybe years past. And when we think about, I've often thought, and I think it's true, that when you are speaking to folk who have any sort of a spiritual heritage, any sort of a spiritual foundation, and you share with them the ideas that you folk are sharing through your art, um, they get it. Like, people get it. They understand that. They can receive that. But how do you? What about the folk who, one, don't have that spiritual heritage, or two, have that spiritual heritage, and then as a result of that have experienced enough pain that it's pushed them away? So now when
Yeah.
you're speaking to them and sharing this art with them, um, they 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 push away. What do you do with that?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna share a little bit, and I know Joe will chime in on this. And I talk about this a lot too, even when I'm at work. And I was just talking to my wife about that also. It's just, as a follower and believer in Christ, we are told to just plant seeds, right? And God gets all the glory for what happens behind the scenes because God is always working, even right now, you know. So my main thing is to focus on the planting seed. Even when they listen to the music, hopefully, we touch some base that they can relate to, and then they would take that, and probably, take that to someone else or come back to it later on, no matter how God might work in their life, But it's not my job to force that individual to sit down and I'm gonna force you to listen to the gospel. I'm gonna force you to believe in this. That's a no-no. And the word teaches us that too. And it's a process, and some things are for people and some things aren't at that time, but the truth is the truth. And the only thing I could do is to look out for someone, is to give them that warning and say, hey, whether they receive it or not, this is just what it is. Um,
Yeah, and this is also where you look at like Philippians chapter 2, where it says, regard others' interest is more important than your own, and have the same attitude that Christ had. And so I think it's very important to meet people where they're at. I can't assume that everyone is going to agree with me on everything I have to say about everything. That's just not a reality. But that doesn't mean I treat them poorly because they disagree with me.
right.
And this is where Dexter said you're planting seeds, and I pray that someone may come along and water, and that ultimately there can be a harvest in that. And so like going through that process, but having that humility to say, you know what, like even though we disagree, I still love you, and I'm going to walk with you, and I'm here for you, and I want to be an ear, and I want to be at your service, if you will. You know what I mean? Because like to me, like Romans 12 speaks on like let your love be like genuine. Like don't just to pretend to love others. It says don't pretend to love others. Really like love them and be genuine. And to me, that involves active listening, right? Like instead of like just brushing somebody off, like I hear you is like, but it's like if I'm listening to you, like I'm paying attention. I'm following along with what you're saying. I'm actually taking what you're saying, processing it, and seeing what I can do about it. And to me, that's genuinely loving somebody, And for me, this season that we've been in, God has really been working that heavily on my heart. Where it's like, Joe, this is a time to listen, process, and speak when you need to, get involved when you need to, and this makes sense, but genuinely love people. Because there's so many things going on right now. I mean, the amount of um, tragedy and tribulation that we're entering in right now, it's like there's so many different things happening that you really have to just step back and realize you don't have everything figured out, that there could be areas you're wrong in, so be teachable and really genuinely love people. And that really means I'm going to listen to you, I'm not just going to hear you. I was raised that, listening and hearing are different. And
Yes.
here, yeah, and we don't talk about it often, but like to me there's a massive piece to that. And so early on when we saw, everything going on with George Floyd, you know, this was a space where Dexter, he was just able to share and speak. And then I processed and really like try to meet him where he was at and what was going on, and hear things from a perspective that I don't have, and so, to be able to hear his heart and walk through this process with him, to me has been amazingly valuable and and precious time. And so it's been a wonderful thing, but I wish we all did that a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Chopping up with Meek Heroes. So, Average Joe Ministries. It's a
Mm.
dope name.
Hey, praise God. We'll take that.
Yo, but Meek Heroes is a part of Average Joe Ministries. What else? What else
Yeah.
is it about?
Yeah, sure. Well, also we do a thing called Take Five. And so it's literally I connect with brothers and sisters in Christ. I ask them to share a piece of the word and how God's been moving on their heart. We do drops every Monday. We're in season 2 now. And so, I love that time. It's been such a blessing to me. It really sparked out of the coronavirus stuff. We were all separate. Dexter and I started talking. We're like, what would be awesome right now is a show. And we're like, yeah, let's just do that. And Dexter's wife Vicky came up with the name, and it's just
Yeah.
the rest has been history for us. And it's been such a blessing. But we again, that's a site where we really want people to be able to read articles. So we have articles on the site. We've got some messages. I've been blessed to do a lot of different pulpit supply in the local church in the area, as well as I speak out in camps. And that's really what Average Joe Ministry started as, was a public speaking ministry. And through talking with Dexter, we really saw what God was doing in that, where this could be a way to connect other people in the church and be an equipping tool and an empowering tool, and also to maybe reach the lost and in some ways, but to do this together. And so we both view ourselves as just very average Joes, average guys that love Jesus, that want to, reach people for Him. And so
Yeah. Amen.
that's it, man. I mean, it's been started off as a public speaking ministry, which I was afraid of and dreaded, and told God that I was the wrong guy. And
All right,
clearly I
Moses.
lost that. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly I lost that battle. um, and God has done a number of amazing things in and through it, that I just sit back and I'm like, that has nothing to do with me. And then bringing Dexter, as part of the team, has only made this 1,000 times better, to actually have a brother to rock with, to
Oh
do this
yeah.
together with. And even, and Dex, I'm gonna call you out here because I've been trying to get him on this forever, to bring him in and teach him the public speaking stuff, to get him out there and preaching and teaching and
Yeah.
diving in, because I see the potential. And it took somebody shaking me awake and telling me, hey, I'm going to throw you out into this sphere. And
Hmm.
so there's that phase too. I'm trying to get Dexter big time into that. So
No
Yeah. Yeah.
doubt.
don't tell Dexter though that my motive is that. Oh, hey, yeah.
um,
So
nah,
He's
that's
working
that's
on it.
that's dope, bro. That's really really cool. Um, so so Dex, um, like I
Yep. Yep. Yep.
said, I'm digging the new joint, bro. But I got to keep it 100 with you, bro. Hearing you on Boom Bap is something special, man. So are we going to? Is there going to be like stylistically as a part of Meek Heroes? Are we gonna get to hear like you flow on some of that?
That was something we gotta talk about. I mean, I like the lane that we going in, man.
Okay.
It's even when my wife's mom and her friends was playing the signal in their car. I was like,
Yeah.
"What you listening to,
mm,
stepmom?" She like, "Your track,"
mm,
you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, it's a lot of dudes with my little brother, my little cousins calling me like, "This is good,"
Yeah.
and that, they didn't say, they was more listening to a lot of the other stuff more because of who I was,
Hmm.
because out of respect and love. And then you got the boom bap heads. They always respect what we did too. But it's just cool to be able to still keep that flow. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? But update it. That's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So
That's what's up, man.
yeah.
That's what's up.
but
I'm
but I'm not. I'm gonna jump in here too, because we're gonna have to do that. Like, because
Thank you.
I agree with you. Here
Thank you, sir.
Hearing Dex on Boom Bap is something special, and so that's what I love about this, is that this may be what we come out with now, and this is our EP, and then if we're blessed to do another one, we may go like a different direction, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
stylistically, like I'm not opposed to whatever God has, and I mean I guess I can rap on boom bap, maybe nowhere near as good as Dex, but that stretches me and challenges me as an artist
Yes.
too, and
Yes.
that's so important. And so, yeah, I wouldn't rule it out at all. But with the direction we've been going with this EP, it's a little bit more of that, like, yeah, really trying to create that futuristic, like, this is our call to action in
Yeah.
our Gotham, if you will.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
got that type of feel overall. So,
That's what's up,
Yeah.
man. That's what's up.
yeah.
So in terms of the EP, or in terms of
Mhm.
what's coming next for the audience, uh, what is next? Timeline wise.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, so I don't. Well, we don't know. No, it's yeah. Well, for Dexter and I, we're very much in the recording process. We are getting set to drop a track called Vapor, which features Deontay Hall, who's just a great friend of mine, who Dexter's now recently been able to connect with. I live in town here with him, and it's been amazing to work with him. And from there, like I said, we're in the recording process. We're not at the place where we're trying to box ourselves in and say, okay, we're dropping this at this time. We're really allowing the creative process to happen. But I would anticipate we'd be probably looking at somewhere towards the mid to late fall for the EP to release. But we're really trying to we look at it as like you kind of get one shot at this, right? Like, what you're doing is, if you're going to release your first project, you want to make sure that you walk through that process well, that you
Yeah.
check all the boxes and take the steps. And so we're really trying to be intentional. And again, that's where Dexter's knowledge of this isn't
Yeah.
really an industry thing for us, but his
Right.
knowledge of the industry is very, very helpful to be able
Yeah.
to lay that out.
Hmm.
Go
And
ahead.
then we're not really doing it all too just for the music. A lot of it is more focused on outreach and us
Hmm.
working with Youth
Yeah.
for Christ, and really making sure that message is there and the gospel is being presented. And God is taking us in all these different ways too that we never thought it even happened.
Right.
With the group and people giving us feedback and opportunities that's coming up. So we kind of walking with God too, and not just saying this taking this industry approach, say, oh, the album's coming out
Right.
on this date and this is what it is. Like, well, we praying through it and God is good.
Word up.
That's
Word
where
up.
we at.
But Dex, let me ask you this, bro. So you mentioned because we were chopping it up when you were releasing stuff, the solo OSI stuff,
Yep,
and
yep,
then you talked about taking a step back
yep,
and sort of plugging in and reassessing before coming to what you're working on right now. And
yep.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard you say you felt like you were kind of being um, pulled into a direction that wasn't your intent, that made you stop.
Well, it's more like a lot of believers. What happened is you find Christ and they on fire. With the God, they on fire. You kind of got like you think of like Kanye or like someone who they're just really excited. But you have this drive, but you got to make sure that you mix your head, your heart, and your hands together. You know, you can't just be all heart, and you just can't be all theology, and you just can't be all just one thing and just going out there and just doing outreach and that's just it. You got to have a balance of all three. And I had a lot of the hands from my past, what I'm saying, and I had the heart because I was on fire. But when it came to the theology aspect of it and making sure that I was really had the word down, it was spots where I was like, oh man, I gotta slow down. So it's a blessing to have like Joe, a good friend of mine, Octavio, my pastor, Pastor Moore, to be rooted in churches, to have a church home and be able to fellowship with man of God, and fathers and believers, iron sharpen iron, and just to have that, and everybody that's in CHH really need to do that. before you just jump out there and just start trying to represent that flag, you got to really make sure that you're rooted in the work, and you just can't just be saying things just because you feel like it. Because it's an impact. You have an impact, and you have a voice, and you want to make sure that you're doing the right things. Like God made you for a reason. It's like you are. If I'm a stove, man, I gotta make sure I don't want to be an empty appliance that's not working. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that He made me, and I'm being useful for that. I'm here to produce for the kingdom, and that's where I'm at with it.
That's what's up, bro. It's funny. It's funny that as you're speaking, man. It makes me think of something that I've been saying recently that I feel like there are. I think that how do I say it? I think that sometimes people can put on the label of a thought of a group and not necessarily truly represent that. And we're talking about music. We're also talking about ministry. But I think, in my opinion, I think that that's something that we've seen happen in society, where we have seen people who, shoot, I'll just keep it 100, man. I think that there are a lot of people who are calling themselves Christians and moving in a Christian, in a way that they say is Christian, that's really not. If you really look at what Christianity is, as a matter of fact, I think if you really look at Christianity and look at the way that Christ walked, a lot of what he did spoke against what we see a lot of the Christian church doing right now. So I think I agree with what you say, man. If you're gonna wear a label, you got to be true to that. So I think that's good of you to have that. I mean, and I realize it's not just you. I realize that it's the influence of the Creator that caused you to take a step back, and then the influence of you, like you said, of other people around you. And I think that it's important to have that community of people who are like-minded and who can encourage and uplift, again, especially in times like this, man. So, big ups to you, man. Big ups to you for doing that.
Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Chopping it up with Dex and Joe from Meek Heroes. So when does, I don't know if you mentioned it, when does the next single drop?
Friday, 26th, June 26th.
Okay.
So, yeah, man. Yeah. So
right around the corner.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, really excited about this one. This one, it's a lot different than the Signal. The Signal is a lot more like that anthem-y, like it's time to go, like let's get up, hype track. Where this track is a lot more like contemplative, but it's like fierce. Like it's got, and I could be completely wrong, and Dexter may just be like, "Nah, you're wrong." It's got almost like that. It's got like a boom bap type feel, but the beat is not like what I would consider boom bap, right? It's got like an Asian trap, but we had some of the boom bap elements. All right, bro. I see him. See, your listeners are only gonna be able to hear it. I can see Dexter's head. He's like, "What is this dude talking about?" But no, like
man, you hit it up there. Yeah.
What we did with Dexter's verse really was a throwback to a lot of those boom bap, like type sounds and the pauses and the breaks and hitting some of that stuff, but with like a little bit of a modern flair in some senses. And so we had a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of really cool artistic pieces in this track that make it just a little bit different. I came from rock and metal, and so for me, when I approach a beat, I kind of have that as my starting point in some ways. And so the chorus is a little bit more gritty, and it's a different type of track. Really excited, but like I said, it's a lot different than the Signal, and we really wanted to make sure that was the case, that it demonstrated some of that diversity with even our musical sound, where it's like
that's the good thing about Meek Heroes. We fuse these styles together, and that's what makes it so dope. And that's what I love about it. It's kind of like you said, rock, metal, with hip hop, with trap and boom bap, that's all fused together. Nobody, it's cats trying to do it, but you listen, man, it's not a lot of Meek Heroes sounding dudes right now, and that's what it's all about. And I like that lane, because one of my favorite duos always been like Outkast, and they always rush crazy. So I'm like, yo, this kind of reminded me of that, and they give me that good feel and that vibe, But the track is dope, man. It's dope.
I'm intrigued, bro. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to hearing it. You know what I mean? So we touched on several different things. You guys are doing a lot with Meek Heroes, but then in other aspects of what you're doing. If people are trying to plug in and stay connected and just keep updated on what you folks are doing, what's the best way to do that?
You can hit us on all the social medias at Meek Heroes, or at www.averagejoeministries.org. But if you just type in Meek Heroes, man, you'll be able to find us. It's not, I don't think there's any other Meek Hero. You know, if you look up Meek, you'll see Meek Mill. But no, you just type in Meek Heroes, man, you'll find us. And thank God that he was able. It took a while, man, to come up with that name too, man. We was coming up with all types of crazy names, but that's the dope thing about the crew is that it's kind of one of a kind.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Real quick, man, I want to give a shout out to the summertime. The sun is out. My neighbors are out. We COVID-19ing right now, so we're doing the podcast from the home studio. So we got some background. We got some background lawnmowers and music and stuff. So just a little added to the podcast.
I was concerned that one of my kids started crying upstairs. I was like, that's probably gonna bleed through. I'm trying to mute it.
Nah, bro. Nah.
So you might hear a kid crying in the background.
That's what's up.
You might hear this fan kicking right now. My central air acting up right now. I got this fan going.
Look, bro. It's real. We keeping it, like I said, bro. We keeping it 100.
No other way to keep it.
Exactly.
Support.
Word up, man. My guy Dex and Joe. Look, I appreciate y'all coming through, man. It's really cool to get an opportunity to hear the background of what you guys have been working on, and like I said, excited to see what's coming next. And I want to continue to be a platform, use my platforms to support what you guys are doing because I believe in it. I think it's, as I said earlier, man, I think it's something that people are searching for, and that's needed right now. So big ups to you guys for what you're doing.
Oh, praise God, man. All glory to him. Thank you for what you just said, man. You're gonna get a grown man crying over here, man. But thank you. We appreciate you greatly. So
100%, bro. 100%. Meek Heroes all over social medias. Check out Average Joe Ministries, averagejoeministries.org. There's a link there to Meek Heroes. Be on the look for the new single that's about to drop. Vapor's gonna be dope. I'm anticipating that after this conversation.
Sweet.
And yeah, man, continue to support people who are doing good things. So once again, fellas, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Man, we appreciate you, bro. You are so dope, bro. The show is dope, man. And man, rocking you to day one, fam. And man, there's so much love and respect.
That's what it's about, B. Use our platforms, you know what I mean? Once again, man, I got to give some shout outs. Big ups to Akepele Apparel for their continued support of the Klyph Notes podcast. It's summertime, so you need some new fits, some new tees. So check them out, man. Akepele Apparel is AKEPLE.com. Also, big ups to, and when you go, make sure you let them know that you heard about them on the Klyph Notes podcast, man. Also, big ups to XRAY FM for their continued support of hosting the Klyph Notes podcast. XRAY.FM, local radio station that has been doing some amazing things, especially in these times of providing platforms for artists. And last but never ever least, big ups to the homie Theory Hazit for creating the official theme song for the Klyph Notes podcast. Remember, you can check out the podcast everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or you can check out klyphnotes.com. If you want to contribute or have a question, comment, you can hit me up at klyphnotes@gmail.com. All right, y'all. Until we have an opportunity to do this again, y'all be blessed. Peace.